The Court considers that, in conformity with its obligations under the Genocide Convention, Israel must immediately halt its military offensive and any other action in the Rafah governorate which may inflict on the Palestinian group in Gaza conditions of life that could bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part.
Right. So International Court of Justice, the United Nations top court in the world, has dealt a severe blow to Israel. It has ordered Israel to immediately halt its military madness in Rafah. A madness that has forced more than 1 million people into displacement once again. A madness that has killed more innocent people almost every day. So what the ICJ has said, ICJ has ordered that Israel must halt its military offensive in Rafah. It must open the Rafah crossing, which has been closed for several weeks now. Imagine, that is having a catastrophic impact on the population, because that is one of the main routes for the aid materials to get inside Gaza. Because Israel, in a bid to fulfill its genocidal intention, it took control of the Palestinian side of Rafah and since then has blocked all the aid materials from entering Gaza. These are cowards. They call themselves military superpower. They are bloody cowards. They are using the most lethal weapon on a population which is so helpless, so unarmed, can't even defend themselves. We know they are mentally deranged, they are psychopaths, they are criminals, we know that. But they are also cowards. So International Court of Justice has said that you must immediately halt your military offensive. You must open the Rafah crossing straight away, and you must give access to UN teams to investigate the allegations of war crimes and genocide in Gaza.
The Court considers that, in conformity with its obligations under the Genocide Convention, Israel must immediately halt its military offensive and any other action in the Rafah governorate which may inflict on the Palestinian group in Gaza conditions of life that could bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. The Court recalls that in its order of January 26, 2024, it ordered Israel inter alia to, I quote, take effective measures to prevent the destruction and ensure the preservation of evidence related to allegations of acts within the scope of Article 2 and Article 3 of the Genocide Convention, end of quote. In the present circumstances, the Court is also of the view that, in order to preserve evidence related to allegations of acts falling within the scope of Article 2 and Article 3 of the Genocide Convention, Israel must take effective measures to ensure the unimpeded access to the Gaza Strip of any commission of inquiry, fact-finding mission, or other investigative body mandated by competent organs of the United Nations to investigate allegations of genocide. The Court also considers that the catastrophic situation in Gaza confirmed the need for the immediate and effective implementation of the measures indicated in its orders of January 26, 2024 and March 28, 2024, which are applicable throughout the Gaza Strip, including in Rafah. In these circumstances, the Court finds it necessary to reaffirm the measures indicated in those orders. In so doing, the Court wishes to emphasize that the measure indicated in paragraph 51(2)(a) of its order of March 28, 2024, requiring, I quote, the unhindered provision at scale by all concerned of urgently needed basic services and humanitarian assistance, end of quote, necessitates that the respondent maintain open land crossing points, and in particular the Rafah crossing. In view of the specific provisional measures it has decided to indicate. The court considered that Israel must submit a report to the court on all measures taken to give effect to this order within 1 month from the date of this order.
You must do all these three things. Now, Israel and its backers, America and the United Kingdom and the EU and Canada and Australia, they always give you examples of Holocaust. This is the biggest, what happened on 7th of October was the biggest ever attack on Jews since Holocaust. Now, can somebody remind them that it's not in your interest? You cannot afford to ignore the directives of International Court of Justice, because these were the bodies that were set up in the wake of those Holocaust. Right? So when you were victims, these bodies were fine. When you are perpetrators, how can the same body be not fine? 13 judges voted in favor of today's order. 2 judges, and no prize for guessing. 1 judge was Israeli. You don't expect the Israeli ad hoc judge to vote against Israel. He has been brought in purely for this case because it's a legal duty. You have to have a judge from the country which is facing the allegations. So that's why he's the ad hoc judge, Judge Barak. But the second judge, who is the vice president, Judge Sebutinde. Remember last time also in January, she was the lone voice opposing South Africa, and today also she opposed it. What kind of sick person you have to be? What kind of compulsions you have to ignore what is happening in Gaza, to ignore what is happening in Rafah? What kind of compulsions you have to deny, and then to deny those allegations and support a genocidal regime of Israel? Shame on you, Sebutinde. Such a disgraceful person. See her face. She represents everything that is disgraceful at this point of time. So now what? Now what will America say? And by the way, in today's verdict, one of those judges who supported today's verdict is American judge, Judge Cleveland, and Judge Bhandari from India. Proud of you. I'm proud of you, Judge Bhandari. What International Court of Justice said today is binding. It's not non-binding as the jokers in White House and State Department would tell you. In the case of the last Security Council resolution, this is binding. And what happens to America's armed support to Israel in the wake of today's order? It's the International Court of Justice ordering Israel to halt military operations. Can America continue to provide arms and ammunition in defiance? Because that will be in defiance of this court. Can any other country? I'm not worried about UK. UK is a poodle of America. If America decides to go against Israel, suddenly everybody, the tone will change in UK. UK doesn't have a power of its own. It's a slave country. So, I'm not even giving importance to UK. But it's a powerless country for all practical purposes. What happens to EU? Can you continue to support Israel? If you do so, you are literally making these bodies irrelevant. Irrelevant. What you're saying is that because you praised the same body when it passed a similar order against Vladimir Putin. So what you're saying is that this body, if you decide to support Israel, I know Israel has bombed again Rafah. Immediately after International Court of Justice passed its order, Israel went and dropped many more bombs because it's a criminal state. And criminal can only behave like a criminal. It's a thug. A country which is being run by a thug called Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, the guy should be handcuffed and sent to The Hague. That's where his place is. He has no place in a civilized society. But for countries in the Europe and the UK and America and Canada and Australia to continue to support a regime, a thug regime, what does it say about your so-called claims on being civilized? What does it say? These are the questions that will become very, very relevant very immediately. You don't have to wait for long. And because the order is only talking about Rafah, it will be almost impossible for America to veto it whenever it goes to the Security Council. So big victory for South Africa, and salute to South Africa. You have reinstated my belief in you as a country. 21 years ago in 2003, I was in South Africa for the BBC covering the Cricket World Cup, traveling across South Africa from Cape Town to Kimberley to Port Elizabeth to Paarl to Centurion to Bloemfontein. I stayed there for 1.5 months. I fell in love with that country. Went to Robben Island, visited the place where Madiba, Nelson Mandela, spent 18 of his 27 years. You have not disappointed me, and I continue to be in awe of this country. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.